Recognition of a Palestinian state has to be one of those steps. I'm unequivocal about that, but it must be part of a wider plan which ultimately results in a two-state solution and lasting security for Palestinians and Israelis. That is the way to ensure that recognition is a tool of maximum impact to improve the lives of those who are suffering, and that must always be our ultimate goal.
More than 220 members of the British Parliament have signed a joint letter urging Prime Minister Keir Starmer to formally recognize Palestine as an independent state. The MPs, representing 9 political parties, say UK recognition would send a powerful message and help pave the way toward a two-state solution, a long-standing proposal to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict. Over half of the signatories are from the Labour Party, including senior leaders like Liam Byrne and committee chair Ruth Cadbury. Among others who signed the letter are Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey, former Conservative Minister Kit Malthouse, and Parliament's longest-serving MP, Sir Edward Lee. The letter comes just days after France committed to recognizing a Palestinian state, within months piling diplomatic pressure on London to act. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that France will formally recognize the State of Palestine during the UN General Assembly session in September. Posting on X, Macron stated, "True to its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I have decided that France will recognize the State of Palestine." While France has long supported a two-state solution, this marks the first time it will officially recognize Palestinian statehood. Macron clarified that France envisions a Palestinian state without Hamas and reiterated unwavering support for Israel's right to peace and security. In response, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he was open to recognizing Palestine, but insisted it must be part of a broader peace plan. He said recognition must go hand in hand with a permanent ceasefire and long-term security guarantees for both Israelis and Palestinians. Starmer added that the UK is working closely with allies to find practical solutions for peace and is prepared to play an active role in delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza. He said the UK would pull every lever to get food and life-saving support to Palestinians and evacuate children needing urgent medical care.
The appalling scenes in Gaza are unrelenting. And I know the British people are sickened by what is happening. The images of starvation and desperation are utterly horrifying. The denial of aid to children and to babies is completely unjustifiable, just as the continued captivity of hostages is completely unjustifiable. Hundreds of civilians have been killed while seeking aid, children killed whilst collecting water. It is a humanitarian catastrophe, and it must end. We've put millions of pounds of aid into Gaza. We've announced an extra 40 million this year. But that help is not getting in. So we're scaling up our work. We are accelerating efforts to evacuate children from Gaza who need critical medical assistance, bringing them to the UK for specialist medical treatment. News that Israel will allow countries to airdrop aid into Gaza has come far too late. But we will do everything we can to get aid in via this route. We are already working urgently with the Jordanian authorities to get British aid onto planes and into Gaza. More broadly, alongside our closest allies, I am working on a pathway to peace in the region, focused on the practical solutions that will make a real difference to the lives of those who are suffering in this war. That pathway will set out concrete steps to turn the desperately needed ceasefire into a lasting peace. Recognition of a Palestinian state has to be one of those steps. I'm unequivocal about that. but it must be part of a wider plan which ultimately results in a two-state solution and lasting security for Palestinians and Israelis. That is the way to ensure that recognition is a tool of maximum impact to improve the lives of those who are suffering. And that must always be our ultimate goal. The fact that we've rebuilt the UK's standing on the world stage enables us to rally international action behind real, purposeful, practical solutions. That is what we've done with the Coalition of the Willing in support of Ukraine. And that is what must happen in the Middle East, building a new international coalition behind a plan to end the suffering, now and for the long term.
On the humanitarian front, the crisis in Gaza continues to worsen. According to UN agencies, 1 in 5 children in Gaza City is malnourished. Over 1,000 Palestinians have reportedly been killed in recent weeks while attempting to access food aid. The UK, along with France and Germany, issued a joint statement urging Israel to lift restrictions on the flow of humanitarian assistance. The three nations called the situation in Gaza a catastrophe and demanded urgent action. As calls grow louder at home and abroad, the British government faces a critical choice: whether to join the international momentum or hold off in hopes of a comprehensive peace deal.